Hi, welcome to another episode of the BIPOC Manager Podcast. On today's episode, I'm super excited to have Luka Lamaj with us. Luka Lamaj is an entrepreneur and the co-founder and CEO of Docere Health, a healthcare technology company dedicated to alleviating the burden of healthcare professionals and enhancing patient care. He was recently recognized as the Top Youth Entrepreneur of the Year award in Canada. Now, Luka is someone with a profound passion for improving the healthcare ecosystem, and his journey into the venture was fueled by desire to combat burnout and to streamline medical practices. Under his leadership, Docere Health has grown exponentially, serving numerous clinics and healthcare institutions. But the thing about Luka is his commitment to innovation extends beyond Docere Health. He's also the co-director of Nucleate Dojo, a global student organization empowering biotech innovators at the underground level. He's involved in biotech startups and as an angel investor, and his recognition as a Student Champion Entrepreneur of Canada 2022 and Microsoft Competition Winner 2023 highlight his dedication to driving positive change in the healthcare and biotechnology sectors. Now, the thing about beyond this, you see, Luka is someone who's achieved so much success. What's amazing is just his background and struggles and what he's been to. I have enormous respect for Luka. Luka, please, I'm so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure. And the intro was amazing, by the way. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Luka. I mean, like I say, like you're someone who's so inspiring because I feel like for a lot of immigrants and minorities, I think that we kind of set our bar a bit low. But with you, I felt like it was like, I'm here. I wanna go for it. I want to do something amazing. And it's in everything you do, in every interaction with people that you have.
As you said it yourself, a lot of stories and I would say, a lot of immigrant stories. People don't know what everyone goes through.
Yeah.
And things happen for a lot of reasons, right? A lot of people set the bar low because most of them don't have the opportunity or don't have the ability or even better, don't know that they have the ability to do great stuff. Usually I use a quote that says, people don't leave their countries if their countries don't become the mouth of sharks, right?
Mm-hmm.
When your country becomes dangerous to live and or maybe just not for you anymore, you move out of your country and you move out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's hard to start anything, your journey in a new environment. So
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people set the bar low.
Maybe that's why, Luka, I'd love to, I mean, if you could share a bit about sort of your journey moving to Canada and just your journey kind of starting Docere Health. Tell me, walk us through kind of how you were kind of navigating those barriers as well, please.
Of course. So when I came to Canada, I remember it was the peak of COVID. I came alone here. I moved to Montreal first. I studied at a small school near the city of Montreal called Bishop's University in Sherbrooke. And I had no idea how Canada was. I had no idea. I had no idea that even Quebec was French, mostly French speaking. So I was very confused. And I remember I came in to the airport, and because of COVID, there was a big chance I wouldn't even come to Canada. But luckily, because I came as an international student, right? Luckily, as students, the university was in person at the time, was only one of the only universities in person that was giving in-person classes. So they let me in. And I remember, Khalid, I came only with 10 euros in my pocket.
Mm.
That's how much I should have like except like because my parents were paying for everything with a lot of sacrifice, with a lot of struggle. You know that the tuition fees here in Canada are very, very high for international students. So it was very, very hard for me until the point that we kind of got a little bit more established and we started like the journey as a family, right? But up to that point, I was pretty much alone. So that story was very hard, but also was very exciting because, that's maybe it's a little bit related to my personality, but I saw that as an opportunity to grow and to start my life again at 18 years old, like starting from the beginning, from zero. So I took that opportunity. I made a lot of friends. Started talking to people, started to talk to different cultures, which was something that I really wanted to do since I was a kid. And that's when I realized that things are so different here.
Mm.
The concept of becoming an entrepreneur on the country where I come from, I come from Albania, a small country in Europe, is, especially in young people, it's not really predominant.
Okay.
Usually when you tell to people that I'm an entrepreneur, they're gonna be like, okay, he's a drug dealer, or he's unemployed, like
Yeah.
it's always not, it's never supported,
Okay.
because again, it's a very traditional society, very traditional form. So that's why when I came here, I saw a shift of things, like people saying to you that, hey, you can do this and you can do that and you can do that, and life has so much more color, and you can do whatever you want, basically. I came to Canada with a goal to study medicine and to become a doctor, because that's all I knew. My mom was a doctor. I had a very big love for science people, for scientists like Rosalind Franklin or Marie and Pierre Curie, but I never thought I would do anything with science. I always thought I would be in the patient care, in the physician side, right? But when I came here, I was like, oh my God, you can also do research. You can also do, I don't know, you can work in a lab. You can even create your companies in healthcare. And I got that eureka moment, that realization of how different the cultures are here in North America, and why North America. I'm sorry for the cliche words that I'm using, but it is the land of opportunities for a lot of people, and especially for immigrants. So in the first year, after the first year was done, uh, my mom, who is a physician, family physician, uh, experienced a very, very bad burnout.
Okay.
She went to the hospital, and she had to retire at only 47 years old.
Mm.
So my also in that moment, I had the second eureka moment. I was saying to myself that, why does that happen? And is it something that happens only in Albania, in Canada, in US, or is this something that happens in the whole world? So I started doing a little bit of research on myself with some of my professors, and I found out that in Canada, which I was more interested in, this happens a lot.
Okay.
Almost 10,000 physicians retire every year because of burnouts.
Mm.
And I said to myself, do we have the luxury? Because I was already in touch with the healthcare system in Canada, and I saw the benefits, but I saw also a lot of problems that it has. I remember the lines in hospital in Montreal were unbelievable, and finding family physicians as an immigrant, or as even Canadian citizens sometimes cannot find them, right? So it was hard. So that's why I decided to find a solution. First of all, because of my mom, and second of all, to make doctors' lives better and a little bit more easier.
Yeah. Man, no, that's amazing. 'Cause I think you sort of, we talk about sort of how like sometimes with immigrants, it's a question of the bar. But if you don't know what's possible, you can end up just kind of going down this one line. Like you said, when you came, and maybe like I said, you started with the love of sort of patient care, but you came, you realized, hey, there's actually this research, there's the ability to be an entrepreneur, there's the ability to have you don't have to just pick one, but you can almost explore, given that this is a land of opportunities, and you allowed yourself to explore. That's
Of course. But that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of even of innovation, because you can do a lot of different stuff until you realize, hey, I'm going to focus on this one
yeah,
for a while, maybe, and after 5, 10 years, I'm going to focus on something else, right? It doesn't have to be that black and white. That's kind of like my point.
yeah.
It's Again, I still support a lot of people that go through the traditional route, which is amazing, and we need a lot of that, especially in the medicine and in the medical field. But it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be that black and white. It has also colors.
The colors. And this is where, Luca, I'd love to if you could talk a bit. So you talk about sort of, what drove you to kind of, set up this to start up with, with your mother and what you saw. As can you talk about maybe instances or maybe places where you experience bias because of the fact that you're an immigrant, and maybe kind of and how you handle them, and advice for maybe anybody else who wants to become an entrepreneur?
Usually, when I speak with my friends, I tell them that I speak a broken English because of my accent, just as a joke. In the beginning, it was hard for me to articulate all of my thoughts, because, first of all, the first thought, like the first language that comes into my mind is Albanian. It's not English. And second of all, because again, I was in a new environment. I didn't know how to react, or I didn't know the culture. I didn't know the people yet that well. So in the beginning, it was very hard, but I wouldn't say it was a bias because just because I'm an immigrant, but it was a bias also because I'm young. It was a bias because I was a student. It was a bias because, again, maybe I didn't articulate very well at the time. So a lot of physicians, a lot of hospitals, a lot of people that I was talking about my idea and my while I was doing the market validation, the interview process of the customers, a lot of people said no, and said no in a very rude way, in a very offensive way, saying words like "please get out of my office" and someone get this kid away because I don't want to talk to him anymore, right? So it was very, very hurtful in a sense. I got very hurt because of that, because I was saying to myself, I'm trying to do something good for these people, right? For not for myself, but for these people. And they don't want to even talk to me. And I was very mad at myself, right? Like, what is going on? Why am I not being respected, or why am I not being valued for trying to do something different? But then you realize that that happens, and has happened a lot in history. And if you read books, if you read all the stories of good people that try to change something or try to do something differently, not necessarily change everything, but try to do something differently, they're always not, usually it's a lot of resistance from the industry. Saying that, the money is always a problem, especially for immigrants. uh, it's money restraint, it's always the problem. I had to sacrifice sometimes, and I'm maybe this is the first time that I say it, but I have to sacrifice sometimes even food, so I can save, for example, to go from. So I live in Niagara Falls right now. So to go from Niagara Falls to Toronto, for example, to have meetings in Toronto with professors, with investors, with physicians, right? These are things that usually people don't tell you, but it's a lot of struggle. It's a lot of struggle, because even though my parents helped me a lot, and help me, and I'm grateful for that, because I couldn't do that without my parents, but still they can help you up to some certain level, and to some certain point. You have to go alone, you have to do things alone, and you have to sacrifice alone, right? So that's pretty much the stories and the problem that and the struggle that a lot of immigrants go through, especially immigrant entrepreneurs. But not a lot of people know that. I know a lot of amazing, amazing immigrants and international students at my school, or at every school that I give like talks and panels, and they talk to me and they say, "Luka, like, how can I start? Where should I start? I don't believe in myself." People talk. People are offensive to me when I talk about the idea. They say, just finish university, and then you can think about creating a company, or they really they really attack them personally, right? So I hear that a lot. It was not only me. It's a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of, not only entrepreneurs, but people that have different ideas, right? Sometimes they don't even have support of their family members. But my advice for them would be just, you know, there's a good quote from Charles Bukowski, which I use a lot actually. He says, "Don't do it, but if you do it, go all the way." So your heart will know what to do and what not to do. So just listen to your heart in a sense.
Amazing, amazing, Luca. Thank you for sharing that. I think like you mentioned stuff, there's on one hand, it's every time you're trying to do something new, there'll always be resistance no matter who you are, what your background is. But I think beyond that, like you said, is when people, and I think that feeling of like that disrespect. And sometimes it can be hard to, like you said, it's not just one dimension. Disrespect could be because of your age, because of your background, because you be able to communicate so many different stuff. And it seems like as if part of it is like, don't take it personally, because like you said, you see so many people across Canada, universities talking about, so it's not personal against you, but to see, as you said, is like when you go in all the way, and don't take it as someone attacking you specifically.
Of course, and again, it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone, to all the entrepreneurs, especially when they are young. It happens. Like I've heard so many stories, even from Canadians, or even from I don't know, like people that don't even have a a bit of accent, right? So it doesn't matter. It just never, it's never personal. Even the people that kind of offend you in the sense, even them, they don't really mean it sometimes, because it happened to be that a lot of like people that that offended me or showed resistance to me in the beginning, then they were very interested in the product that we were building, right? So it just happens. It's a maybe it's a bad day, they were in a bad mood, so it always happens like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think one of the questions I'd love to ask you. So, in terms of like, when you come to Canada, like you're building this network, right? Network of people, like you mentioned, people around you, supporters, investors. Can you talk a little bit of kind of like, like how you build this network and advice you give to others who need to build one?
This is a good question. I mean, I I was lucky enough a little to be exposed very early, again, as I said, of the environment that
Mm.
all Canada is built about and Canada is all about. As a fan of economics and macroeconomics, I realized that as in a capitalistic society, innovation is what drives the whole economy. So I realized that very early in my age, and that made me more woke in the sense of looking for the people that I can hang out with and building that network, right? Uh, so I was lucky enough to find these people, as I said, very early. One of them was started just with my roommate and my best friend at the time, Zach, who is also again is still my best friend. And we talk very regularly, and that was like my first culture shock because he has a chess account, Instagram account.
Okay.
And for me, it was like, wow, like I never thought you could even do that, right? Like you could be a chess content creator. So that was my first culture shock. And through discussions with him, I really understand again how much opportunities you have here. The second person that I would say that was very determinant to my creating my network was someone that you also know, Professor Agostino. He became like my mentor, but even more than a mentor, but a family here in Canada. And he helped me a lot with understanding how to talk to people and how to go for it and how to meet people, right? And he introduced me to a lot of people. So these are they were the moments that I really realized that hey, here people don't care. People don't care where you come from, even though sometimes again they offend you because of your accent, maybe sometimes because of your beard, or maybe sometimes because they're just in a bad day.
Yeah.
But people don't. In essence, deep down, people don't care where you come from.
Mm.
People don't care how much money you have, or people don't care how much I don't know how successful you are. People here care about what you're doing, and if you're an interesting person to talk to. So if you want to start building network, the
Mm.
first thing you have to do is build basically yourself. Read a lot of books, become a person with again with a lot of colors,
Mm.
which you can be in different conversations in a table or in a conference or in a networking event, right? Uh, Understand philosophy, understand history, understand biology, understand I don't know psychology, right? Understand different topics, learn about different topics, so you can impress people that you're in front with.
Yeah. No, I love it, especially there was something to Luca. I loved it. It's like, it's like things like pick up more colors, be more colorful. I loved it. The idea is
I
like,
said it a lot in this podcast because I really want to emphasize that. I love people that have colors. I love people that, for example, a lot of my science friends, a lot of my scientists that are friends of mine, they they love art, for example. They love paintings. They love music. So that's something that I really admire when I talk to people, for example. So it starts with me. Imagine how many people on this network of I'm calling it entrepreneurship or innovation. Imagine how they think. They think the same as me too. So if you want to impress someone, just be colorful.
yeah. Thank you so much for that, Luca. And so, before we wrap up the episode, I'll ask you, is anything maybe in addition you'd want to share or discuss?
So in the end, one of the except being colorful as a person, in the end, is I wanted to say that it's always good. I had my moments of, and I'm not gonna lie, I had my moments of depression, of sadness, of anxiety, and it's hard when you're lonely. It's hard when you're alone. It's hard. Just try to talk to people. Try even therapy if it's needed. I was in an event 2 days ago, and one of the guys, very famous guy, Jake Carls, he created an amazing chocolate company. he said, I used to go in therapy once a week and I was not ashamed of it, right? Because it's a lonely journey. It's a lonely journey. My friend would say it's like you are like a gladiator in the arena, and paraphrasing Theodore Roosevelt's words or speech, you are the man in the arena. You are alone, but just remember, why did you start this? That's why you need a good mission, a good why behind everything that you do in life if you want to be successful, and find people that believe in you and just talk to people, be around people, because being lonely, it's not always the case of success.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that and talking about mental health, Luka. I think, like, a lot of times I think we see so much success, which is true and accurate, but I think it's the, like you said, the sacrifices. Like no one's seeing sort of, like there's a cost to this, and it's about balancing what that cost is. So thank you for sharing that, Luka.
That's why us immigrants we do it better, because uh we know how to sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
our blood.
Escaping the mouths of the shark, right? No,
Never.
we gotta make the most of it. So, and Luca, before I want to say, so in terms of anybody who wants to follow you, kind of be updated about you or about Docere Health, what's the best way they could do that?
Of course. So Instagram and my LinkedIn, I am very, very active. You can text me, you can share anything that you want with me. I'll be very eager to respond. Luka Lamaj, LukaLamaj. Of course, also my email, LukaLamaj3@gmail.com. It's open for everything that you guys want to discuss.
Okay. Thank you so much for being a guest today, Luca.
Amazing. Thank you, Khalil, for your invite. It was a pleasure.